From We Are Spectacular, this is a Spectacular Marketing Podcast. A podcast about everything brand, marketing, digital and social for the food, drink and hospitality industry and beyond. So today I've been looking into millennial and centennial drinking habits. It's reported that up to a third are actually saying that they do not drink at all. So the search for alternatives to alcoholic drinks in pubs and in restaurants and in the off-trade has never been more fierce or in more demand. Today's guest is Luke Boase, and he is the founder of an incredible lager company called Lucky Saint. Lucky Saint has only been going for a few short months, but is having incredible success and cut through in terms of the fight for the alcohol-free drinker and the alcohol-free market. There's some other great things we talk about in the podcast today, looking at abstinence versus being flexi in terms of what you're drinking. We talk a lot about luck and what it takes to be a great entrepreneur. And also, we focus on how they've created this great brand and how they've set it up for incredible success across the globe for years to come. So it gives me the most divine and great pleasure ever to introduce a new friend to the Spectacular Marketing Podcast, Mr. Luke Boase from Lucky Saint Beer.
Hi, Mark.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, good.
Good. I'm so glad you made it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
It's really exciting. And also, for me, I've been watching you with admiration from afar. So I didn't know we were related in terms of a family member, in terms of Pooja. And, you know, I just saw you appear on Instagram and on social feeds more than anything, and just thought, oh, I wish I had done that branding. It looks so beautiful. So is there a Sunday name for Lucky Saint? Is it Lucky Saint Beer Co? Is it just Lucky Saint? Or what do you tend to refer to it as?
I think just Lucky Saint. Our social handles are Lucky Saint Beer.
Yeah.
Because Lucky Saint wasn't available.
Right. Well, yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens. And then in terms of you, so you're the founder.
Yeah.
The sole founder?
Sole founder.
Wow.
And yeah, we've got 2 employees. One started in September, and another one starts in 2 weeks' time.
Great. And what will they be doing?
So they're doing so Jordan, who started in September, does kind of sales and marketing. But a bit of everything, as is the way.
Yeah, of course.
With
startup land.
Yeah, exactly. And then we've got Hugh joining in 2 weeks to focus on sales.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Exciting.
So yeah, it'd be nice to get more people involved.
Yeah, bro, because we were just chatting about this before we started recording. You know, it can be hell of a lonely, you know, when you're starting out. You know, there's no one to talk to, there's no one to bounce ideas off of. You know, it can be a very lonely place to be, and you've got this belief that this is the right thing, but from time to time you may have your dark moments thinking, have I done the right thing here?
Yeah, no, it's tough, but it's you try and surround yourself with as many kind of advisors and helpful people as you can, and lean on them as much as possible. Yeah.
So what's your history then? Where did you come from, and the bit of the journey side of things to getting here to being a Lucky Saint?
So I don't know, which sort of like career-wise, or
it'd be good to just understand, what kind of got you to this space.
Yeah, well, I was working. My last job, I was working in oil and gas, which is completely unrelated.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine asked me to take a meeting with a startup who were raising money, and I took the meeting, and I was just kind of blown away by the excitement and the energy and the enthusiasm that these 2 founders who are sitting on the other side of the table from me were having. They were they were so inspired and so convinced that they were building a tech business that was going to change the face of retail.
Wow.
And I thought, oh God, I'm sitting on the wrong side of the table.
Right. So you kind of fed off that energy.
Yeah, just within 10 minutes, I just thought it looked way more fun being on their side of the table than mine. So that was the moment I thought I need to find an idea, and I need to find a business that I can be that enthusiastic and passionate about.
That's brilliant.
So then I went through a few ideas that sort of came and went. So that was 3 years ago.
Uh-huh.
A few ideas came and went in all sorts of different sectors and categories, and there was a tech idea, there was a retail idea, but the one that kind of stuck and never went was alcohol-free beer.
Ah, so why that?
It just annoyingly I can't remember the sort of the moment of inception, like where I kind of I thought about it, but the reality was it was 2 years ago, and I was just looking at Beck's Blue, who kind of dominate the category, and I thought there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way to make a better product, and there's got to be a way to build a brand that is just more positive about alcohol-free beer and just more aspirational. So that was the kind of inception point, and there was quite a lot. I mean, I did quite a lot of kind of category research, and there was quite a lot of insight around that. So 2 years ago, the category was growing at 8%, in spite of the fact that you had big players who weren't sort of actively kind of growing the category or activating it.
I think also there seemed to be a bit of a reluctance around the alcohol-free area in terms of if you had to, I think some people were making the choice, maybe they were driving, or a lot of the time people's experience of this is your wife's pregnant, so you give up for a while. And the feedback was always, you're sort of chugging it down, sort of powering on through it, to kind of get to the... And also a lot of the chat was how chemically it was. It felt that almost you would have some kind of after effect the next day, but it was more through potentially the recipe or what was in it, or there was something. Yeah. And that was always the feedback. And then you would find in most people's shed or their fridge or their drinks cabinet, there would be one or two probably out of date calibers back in the day, or Beck's Blue. Or I tell you one I thought was pretty decent though. I think was either Weinsteffen or Erdberg or one of these. Erdinger maybe. Yeah.
So the Erdinger one is good.
And I think through my taste testing when my wife was pregnant, 7 years ago, that was the one I sort of hit upon, and I thought, that I'm quite enjoying that.
Yeah.
But the chat around millennials, centennials, drinking habits, kombucha, I think you've hit upon something great to be that alternative right now.
Yeah, it's funny. I just felt I felt like the sort of the mainstream. There's now lots of. The last 2 years, the kind of whole landscape has completely changed. So kind of growth has exploded, but I just felt like the mainstream brands weren't kind of creating a product that was servicing people who wanted to come into the category and make for a positive reason. So everyone who's in there drinking alcohol-free beer, was making a very kind of functional decision about it. They couldn't have alcohol, so this was the next best thing.
Yeah.
But I felt like why can't we bring people into the category for a positive reason? So they're making a positive decision, a reason not to have a drink on an occasion. If it's one night a week, 5 nights a week, a whole year. I'm in the middle of doing a whole year.
And how's that going?
The end. It's been really good actually. Yeah. The first couple of months are quite tough, and then you kind of find coping mechanisms.
Right. Which were
you
gambling and
coffee and I just pick up a lot of other vices instead.
Red Bull.
But it's actually I really enjoyed it, and once you get over it, and once people stop asking about it,
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. It's good to make a difference. If you say you don't drink, people have a bit of a funny reaction to you. They'll be like, "Oh, I wonder why not."
What's going
Whereas
on, yeah.
if you say you're not drinking for a year, they're super engaged with it.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, why not? You know, how are you feeling? What's it been like?"
Yeah.
So that's a really engaging conversation. Whereas, so I make sure I say that.
But then in terms of the market, you said you've done quite a lot of research about it and all that sort of stuff. What were you sort of finding? Where was the insight for this product then? What were you sort of butting against?
I just felt that from a brand perspective, there were the categories dominated by mainstream brands. The big beer companies have this, and I think they're getting their head around it in fairness now, but they have this kind of a bit of a dilemma because is it a core market for them, or is it in opposition to what they're doing? And actually, they're all, Heineken have come out pretty explicitly and said this is a core part of our business, and we want it to be, I can't remember, I think 20% of sales by 2025.
And Heineken's 0.0.
Heineken 0.0. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely happening, and since like 2 years ago, growth was 8%. Now, depending on what stats you use, it's anywhere between 25 and 30%.
Wow!
So it's super fast growth.
So, do you know what the market is? What the sort of customer motivations are then for this growth? What's going on there?
I don't know. We talk the stat that came out the other day, which was kind of the most mind-boggling, was nearly 30% of young people consider themselves non-drinkers.
Yeah,
which just I can't really get my head around that.
Yeah,
but it's just, I think it's general health and wellness. Every age demographic you look at, everyone is moderating.
Yeah,
and there's a huge kind of drink less but better in the same way that meat consumption, veganism, all of these things, they're all kind of moving in the same direction. Whether it's you don't drink during the week, you drink on the weekend. You don't eat meat during the week, but you eat better quality meat on the weekend. So there's sort of everything for me kind of pointed to the fact that alcohol-free beer should be should be a giant category in it, and it just isn't. It's tiny. And it's much bigger. And the other thing that's interesting, it's much bigger in Germany and Spain. The markets there are miles bigger.
Oh, I think there's quite an interesting thing about, in Germany, the responsible drinking's always sort of been there. So, for example, if you went to one of my friends used to work for sort of BMW and Young Heinrich, the forklift trucks and all that. And yeah, I mean, you could get Radler, the sort of nicer version of Shandy. It always seemed a bit more flavoursome. That was in vending machines, and beer was just in vending machines that you could have a beer with your lunch if you wanted at the time.
Yeah.
And it's almost that by offering that up, the culture was a lot more self-policed, Oh, of course, if you go to Oktoberfest and all these things, it's maybe a little bit more crazy, but then that's not all year round, right? So there's that. And then I guess in Spain as well, it's drinking for different reasons, and it's almost like refreshment, or and you're in for a session when you're in Spain, let's say with the heat, where you might start drinking really early. And I mean, if you start drinking higher strength lagers or beers at 11, 12, and then by 4 o'clock you're done, your night's gone, isn't it? So you can't enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I think the Spanish have kind of created different occasions for it.
Yeah.
But I understand that alcohol-free beer it's on tap in a lot of Spain.
Yeah.
Which is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
It's not that it's not possible here. It's just that there isn't the demand there for it.
Yeah. You do get a lot of kickback, but it'd be interesting to talk to you again in 3 years' time or something like that, and then we could be like, God, what happened there? Or it'd be really exciting.
It'd be fascinating to see how the world evolves.
Yeah.
Because there's so much. It's not just alcohol-free beer. There's there's lots of other products that are trying to attack the same trend, which is, what do you drink if you're not drinking?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to drink. You can't drink loads of sugary drinks.
Yeah.
You want something that you sip, you don't down.
Yeah. You almost need something kind of challenging, don't you?
You need something that has either a bitterness, or a tartness. So the kombucha thing you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
There's lots of interesting stuff going on in kombucha.
Yeah.
Seedlip's obviously building an incredible brand.
Yeah.
I love following them.
Yeah.
It's
very exciting.
It's just an amazing story.
It's very exciting.
There's quite a few other people doing the same thing in that category, but they're Seedlip just sort of powers ahead and leads the way, and they're so far ahead in terms of their thinking and the way they're putting things together.
It was so confident, in terms of what they've done, and it's so clear what they're doing as well, and it's just riding the gin wave in terms of the way that it's branded and it's sold, and they've just done it really well. So thinking about you then, so you moved to Germany? What happened there?
I didn't move there. I've got family and kids in London.
Ah, okay. So you were just there regularly?
Yeah. So I spent a year So when I kind of committed to trying to solve the problem, I spent a year in this country. I worked with 4 different brewers here, and the general, it was tough actually, because the general, I'd go and I'd meet a brewer, and the owner of a brewery, let's say, and I'd sell the idea into him and the vision, and say, will you work with me on this? Will you help me develop a product? And I'd get that over the line. He'd say, yeah, let's do it. I really like it. This could be really interesting. I'll get my head brewer on it, and we'll develop recipe. And generally what would happen is, after 1 or 2 brews, I'd get a call from the owner of the brewery saying, yeah, it hasn't gone so well so far. And it's either not tasting great or it's got infected. But my head brewer's not really into this. And if I don't have his buy-in, then I can't force him to do it.
Right.
So I'd then get the call saying, I'm sorry, Luke, but this isn't going to work. So then I'm on to the next one. We went through 4 brewers here.
Right.
But what I did learn during that process was that we were trying to make a lager with a very low alcohol, but by brewing it to a very low alcohol. So you start with a small amount of malt to create a small amount of fermentable sugar that results in a small amount of alcohol. But the downside to that process is that you don't have enough malt to create body and flavour in the lager. So if you look at some of the pale ales and the hoppy ales that are out there, they're brewed with using that process. But you use so much hops that it creates an enormous amount of aroma and flavour through that, and the kind of lack of malt body is not so much of an issue. But for a lager, that's not really possible.
Right.
So then I went to Belgium and tried a process called reverse osmosis.
Okay.
Which is where you brew a full strength beer, and then you pass it over a membrane at high pressure, and it effectively dehydrates the beer of alcohol and water.
Okay.
And then you rehydrate it with water.
Right.
So it's like beer from concentrate.
And
which is a really weird concept.
How did you know about this stuff as well? Did you know? 4 or 5 years ago, did you know anything about this stuff?
No. So I was really into what was happening in craft beer, and I sort of kind of fell back in love with beer, quite a few years ago. But to be honest with you, I didn't know how to brew a beer at all. Just had to get on Google and find out.
Thanks, Google.
But you pick it up and you learn, and I've spent 2 years talking to people, and actually when you get under the skin of it, and when you're when you're there and you're with the equipment and you have people to help explain things to you, it's not beyond the kind of realms of comprehension. So we tried reverse osmosis, and we actually didn't get great results with it. Not necessarily, I know it's not that it's not possible, it's just we, for whatever reason, didn't get great results.
Yeah.
But it's also a weird concept, the kind of beer from concentrate.
Yeah.
Given that we don't want to drink orange juice from concentrate.
Yes.
Although I thought logistically it could be really interesting, because you can just ship syrup.
Yeah.
And then add carbonated water on site.
Nice.
But it's not. I don't think you'd fly that as a business.
Yeah.
And then I decided we needed to use this process called vacuum distillation. And so that's when I went to Germany and started spending a lot of time there, meeting brewers and trying to find someone who had the technology and all of the kit that was necessary, but also kind of shared the values that we wanted to brew by. Vacuum distillation is a process where, similarly to the reverse osmosis, you brew a full strength beer, but you then evaporate the alcohol off.
Right.
But ordinarily alcohol evaporates off at about 80 degrees C, but if you effectively boil beer to that temperature, it just completely ruins it.
Yeah.
So if you do it in a vacuum, we're halving the temperature at which the alcohol evaporates off, so you don't get any of the flavour distortions.
Right.
And then we were brewing lots of lagers, and they were fine, but they weren't kind of really a step on from what was already out there.
Yeah.
And they weren't kind of enough for me to think, right, this is it. This is something to build a business on. And I was sampling all of the Germans are really into their wheat beers.
Sure.
And I was sampling all of the non-alcoholic wheat beers over there, and they have this amazing kind of full-bodied, sort of great mouthfeel and huge flavour, and it comes from the fact that they're not filtered. And what filtering beer does is it strips out flavour and body.
Right.
But the result is a liquid with kind of great clarity.
Yeah.
And then the penny dropped, and I thought we need to be doing an unfiltered lager. And because what non-alcoholic beers struggle for is flavour and body.
Yeah.
So why are we filtering it? And then from there, it became a much easier process. It was the sort of, suddenly we were away, and we then kind of developed the recipe specifically with the fact that we were going to. The recipe had in its conception the idea that you'd be removing the alcohol from it. So we were designing it to taste good at that point, rather than at the point where you've just brewed it to 5%.
Point before.
So we got the result is this liquid. It's a little bit hazy, which I love, and it is just nice. It just speaks to the kind of character and the fact that it's brewed properly.
Yeah. Well, I think even just from that branding perspective, if you can see in the glass that, you've got a chance to be the hazy one, a lot of the time, if you know that's good. So it's quite nice because, back in the day it was, if it was a Magners or whatever, you had it with all the ice and and that's something we've discussed in a previous podcast, is that branding at the bar level, so if you've got a certain look, and I'm sure the right glassware, if the pubs will put it in the proper glassware, which is a frustration, or if you can get it decanted into the glass, I think that's going to be really standout. I think,
no, it's really not, because it's nice to have a liquid that, and I think the consumer's ready for it now. Craft has been such a great kind of consumer education from that perspective. And it's interesting that I find it fascinating, because one of the benefits of filtering, not only do you get a really bright beer that's really clear, it takes much less time to brew it.
Oh,
because you can effectively, I think you can cut depending on who you are, I don't know. But we ferment and condition the beer for 6 weeks, because that's how long it takes for all the sediment to drop out.
Yeah.
But you can accelerate that process to 2 weeks if you filter it.
Yeah.
So that's that's one of the sort of cost saving aspects of filtering beer.
So you're making it much harder for yourself.
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, listen, it's not. I think it's not. That's not. It's not something that's kind of completely unique to us.
Yeah.
But it does. It's sort of rooted in good brewing values.
Yeah. So the longer the better.
Longer the better, and yeah, as I say, it means we leave it so long that we don't need to filter it, and therefore you get all the extra flavour that comes from that.
And then what about now you've got it being brewed? So is it coming from Germany?
Yeah. So this is the imperfect part of the whole thing, is that transporting beer from Germany to the UK is expensive.
Yeah. Sure. And how's it? How is it? Trucks and all that stuff?
Trucks, yeah. So we order a truck at a time.
And are you mainly canned, bottled?
All in bottles.
All in bottles.
Yeah, I'd love to do cans, but it's logistically complex at the moment.
Yeah. So anyone that might want to help on that that's listening, give you a shout. No, I think it's got that distinct look. And just with the flavour of the beer then, did you have a beer or a few beers in mind that you wanted to better? Because, quite honestly, you probably could have stopped with nice branding and it was on par with everything else that was out there that looked a bit alternative, and then, but you didn't, you were driven to keep chasing this thing. It's
funny though, now I'm out doing the sales piece, and people said it to me.
Yeah.
Because I've met so many people over, during this journey. And lots of people have said, it's all about the product. You need that product.
Yeah.
And then there's a school of thought that says you can brand your way to anything. But when you're in a sales meeting, that I'd now spend my entire time being in, and you go down, you sit down, and you go into a bar, and the person you're meeting says, right, well, let's just taste it against our existing one. And so they then do side-by-side taste it.
Right.
And so there's nowhere to hide there.
No advantage.
So you kind of, I think you really do have to kind of be relentless in this kind of pursuit of product. And I don't think we're never going to be there.
Yeah, just keep
I think we'll always be trying to push and trying to make new products and find better ways to kind of refine our processes.
So how would you describe it in terms of taste then?
Oh gosh, I'm terrible at this. It's a very it's 4 natural ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing else. There's no flavorings. There's no adjuncts. There's no additives. It's rooted. The flavor is rooted in kind of quite traditional, kind of German lager tastes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a Pilsner malt base and Hallertau hops. We use 3 different varieties of Hallertau, and then, but you then get, because it's unfiltered, you then get this kind of this smoothness to it. That's and it just has more. It has more kind of texture and body to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think our tasting notes say biscuity malts with a smooth citrus hop finish.
Very good. Sounds professional. Yeah. Sounds about right. So in terms of the brand then and all that stuff, where did all that come from?
I actually started with another brand, but then it quite quickly became clear that wasn't the right route to be going down. So then we sort of took all of the learnings from that and started again.
Mm-hmm.
And
what was wrong with it? Was it just a gut feel, or what were you thinking?
It was quite oppositional in the way we were positioning it. So right. it was creating something in opposition to beer. and someone who's really good at this made this insight very quickly. Said, I think you started with the wrong name, and that you've ended up with the wrong brand. It's such a rich territory to explore.
Yeah.
Don't corner yourself in this oppositional part in this oppositional brand.
Yeah.
Go after the proposition and celebrate everything about the proposition that you can, because that's a much richer territory to be in.
Yeah, it's just embracing what it is and embracing the opportunity for the customer, and feels like a more positive, sunnier side of the street place to be, I think.
Yeah. So it was cool. So the original brand was called, and actually, fun enough, the name of the company is still officially on Companies House Way. It was still Not Another Beer Co.
Ah, okay.
So the name was just saying, we're different, we're not, which is quite a powerful way to launch a brand. Because you slam your fist on the table and you say, we're here, we're different.
Yeah.
But the worry was that you run out of creative runway.
It can be a bit of a gag, can it?
There's a finite amount of messaging.
Yeah.
And there's a finite number of ways you can describe yourself as different.
Yeah.
The other side, the kind of propositional side of the territory, is in theory infinite. Then we built Lucky Saint, and Lucky Saint is all the original consumer that I saw for it was an aspiring entrepreneur sitting in a co-working space, who's aspirational and ambitious and health conscious and brand conscious.
Yeah.
And that person doesn't have the kind of bandwidth to be waking up every morning and achieving what they want to achieve if they've been drinking the night before.
Yeah.
So that kind of felt like an aspirational starting point for a reason to be joining the category. Coming back to that point about no one comes in and drinks the mainstream brands out of choice. Yeah. Per se, they're kind of forced into that functional decision. Whereas we're trying to say there's an aspirational choice here.
I think that makes total sense. And then coming up with the name, was it, what happened there? Was it a bit of fridge poetry, or what happened?
It was. So it's all rooted in making your own luck. That kind of refers back to this same consumer.
Yeah.
I don't know if do you listen to this podcast series called How I Built This?
Yes. NPR.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So at the end of that, Guy Raz always asks the same question to everyone. He says, how much of your success do you put down to good judgment, being smart, and how much do you put down to luck? And they're always very modest about it, generally speaking. Yeah. And they say, no, we got lucky, we were in the right place at the right time. But if you read between the lines, everyone put themselves in the position to be lucky.
Yeah.
So that's where kind of we're rooted in that, making your own luck.
Yeah. I think what's so exciting about it is, as well, it feels instantly international, and it feels instantly like a big brand, which you couldn't link to a certain country, and just the word lucky travels quite well, I think, just in terms of the Asian markets and all these kind of things as well. So I think it really looks like a finished article from a huge, multinational company, but it isn't. It's from you. So, when I saw it, I was blown away when I just thought, my God, that looks amazing.
Thanks very much.
Yeah. And who
I'm
actually...
not sure, I think I'm probably too close to it to be able to see that.
Well, that's the problem. Yeah. But, take the praise.
I just hit holes in everything.
Take the praise. And, was there a design agency behind it, or what?
Yeah, so we used an agency called Other Way.
Okay.
Who are great, actually.
Yeah. I need to check them out.
They're at that. I think I think they've had an amazing year this year. They've won some great clients. They were at that kind of inflection point of starting to do really big work.
Yeah.
I think we maybe just got in just in time.
Just before the housing boom. Yeah. Brilliant. That's so cool. And then, in terms of the percentage of it, what percentage are you at on the beer?
It's 0.5%.
So tell me about that then, in terms of, because I know there's a lot of 0.0s, and will that affect people's judgment? I'm thinking also about being very Scottish, in that in Scotland it's like, zero tolerance on any alcohol in your system at all, for example.
Yes, for driving.
Yeah, for driving.
Yeah.
No, not for life. The whole country would just collapse. But we wouldn't be happy with that. But yeah, so what was the decision to have a little bit, or was it just that was as low as you could get it, or what happened there?
It was all about flavour.
Right,
The flavour we could achieve, we could make it to 0.
Yeah.
But the flavour that we were achieving at 0.5%.
Yeah.
It was a whole world apart, and that for me was the priority. If you want to bring people into the category, who aren't already in there, who don't have a functional need to be there, you need to ask them to come in because it tastes great. So that was the focus. So there are people for whom 0.5% isn't right. But if you're making it, if it's the consumers that I have in mind are fine with 0.5%. Yeah,
it's a judgment call, and they're having a mini party.
Yeah.
Or something.
And you'll find it to be there are a number of 0.0 products, and there are a good number of 0.5% products as well.
Yeah.
So horses for courses.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good thing, and that there's just a little bit in there, and I think also from what you're saying, you're wanting to go for the people that are looking at moderation rather than abstination, I suppose. So that feels like, I think that feels the right thing.
It was a really interesting part of that was we ummed and ahed over it for a long time, because what's our view on alcohol as an alcohol-free brand? Or where do we sit with it? There's a huge sober movement happening.
Yeah.
And do we want to be championing that?
Yeah.
Or do we root ourselves in moderation? And we felt that we can win hearts and minds in the pro-sober, the kind of the very kind of sober movement that's going on.
Yeah.
With great tasting products, without alienating the majority who are moderating.
Yeah. No, I think it makes total sense. And then just thinking about those sales meetings that you were talking about, and a lot of people listening are running pubcos and all the rest of it. I mean, if someone's not got this in their range, or they've already got current stuff, I mean, what would you be saying to them really to try and change their mind to have this range of products, or for you to be switching out the big guns that they have?
I don't know. I think there's an increasing awareness that alcohol free there's a huge growing demand from it from a consumer perspective, and anecdotally, the data that I hear from, I was chatting to a pub company last week who have a large number of pubs, and they're seeing their packaged alcohol free range growing at 35%.
Wow.
So there's two things going on. I think there is an awareness, a sort of consumer awareness of the category.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be drinking, it's not front of mind that you'd walk in and have an alcohol-free beer.
Yeah.
But that's changing, I think, quite quickly, and we get to ride the wave of Heineken being much more active, for example, in terms of talking about their products. So they're growing awareness of the category.
Yeah.
And the fact that, I think we alluded to earlier, nearly a third of young people consider themselves non-drinkers now, which is it's an unbelievable statistic.
Yeah.
And they're becoming an ever greater proportion of the market. So I think there's another, what was the other I was actually just reading before I came in, something saying that 30% of people in the pub are looking for alcohol-free drinks, and they're not in there for an alcoholic drink.
Right.
There's a real demand there for it.
Yeah, and I think also there's only so many coffees you can have, sugary drinks, as you said, and and you're out of options a lot of the time. You're just going, I don't really know what to do anymore. So I think this will be really welcomed, and a cool looking brand to boot, which is great.
It's interesting. The other thing, I mean, I see pubs as a kind of in a sense a tough market, because you're in a head-to-head fight with beer as well.
Yeah.
And so on the other hand, restaurants are interesting because there's a sort of slightly different occasion happening there.
And what about, the things like Stoptober and Dry January and all these kind of things? Are you going to sort of double down on those, or have more of an evergreen message, or what are you thinking about those types of things?
I think it's an evergreen message.
Yeah.
Not heard that term before, but I'm going to use it now.
It's a good one. Yeah, I like it. I picked it up somewhere. Yeah.
Well, we launched on the 1st of October, which was Stoptober, but we haven't used it in any of our messaging because we've got enough to talk about, and we've got a story to tell without jumping on that.
Yeah.
January is obviously huge for alcohol free. It's the biggest month of the year. But conceptually, I find Dry January a bit of a weird one. Why it sort of give up for 1 month and then
get back on it for
the other 11. So that's just my own belief. The reality is that it's front of mind for so many consumers that it's the biggest. It's a great opportunity for us to tell the story, even if that isn't an absolutely a kind of. We're not the beer for Dry January. Yeah, we want to be much more than that.
Yeah. It probably puts you in a box, like that chap was saying before about the other brands. It's like might limit you. If you're only there when the whole world's given up or whatever.
Yeah,
and they usually last the first couple of weeks or first 10 days, and then they're back on it straight away. And then what about distribution then? So, where are you right now? How can people get hold of it? What's sort of going on there?
We launched with Honest Burgers on the 1st of October.
Who I love.
Yeah,
so much.
Great burgers.
Yeah,
and lovely brand.
Everything about it.
So it was a bit of a coup for me. I got introduced to the founder Tom there a couple of months ago, and it turns out, when I met, he hadn't been drinking for almost a year. For all of the reasons where we've rooted the brand, i.e., it didn't align with his aspirations for waking up every morning and building the business that he wants to build. Yeah. And so he'd been drinking a lot of alcohol-free beer, and they didn't have one on their menu. So that was a kind of a good stroke of luck. Yeah.
And did you meet Adam there and stuff as well, and Meg and all these guys? Yeah,
so we've done
lovely people.
Yeah, really nice. So we went and we trained all their staff. We trained all their managers in September, and they're being super helpful and helping us. We actually shot a little content piece with Tom a couple of weeks ago,
and I had seen it. I saw it before I even met you, which was the power of social,
power of Instagram.
Yeah.
So we've done a little trailer with just by the time this goes out, it should be well and truly live.
Great. Yeah, Tribute all day long is my favourite burger there, and we used to have an office across the road from the one in Marketplace, just off Oxford Street, so we were just getting delivery or takeaway, whatever, too many nights maybe than we should have, but
they're great. Well, they're sort of, they're now big. I think they're almost at 30 restaurants now.
Is that right? Jesus.
But they're still making their own chips, hand cutting their own chips. They've got their own butchery now.
Yeah.
They've got great values.
That's the thing, and it's sticking close to those is such a big deal, and they've done it all the way through, and it's been so easy for them to just go, right, cost saving, and then flick it over, but they've stayed strong.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, Adam, who's a wonderful marketer working over there, and, I think he's got such an indie background, I think, from the past, a lot of street food and things like that. So I think that, there's a pun coming up, but it will keep them honest. You need that to not sell out and not do the wrong thing, and they'll be thanked for it in years to come.
Yeah, it's great. Adams is just he's a wealth of good ideas.
For sure. Yeah, no, lovely fella.
When we met the other day.
Yeah. And anywhere else that we can get our hands on?
Where are we? We're doing, we're relatively available in the kind of London bottle shops.
Okay.
We are in Electric Star pubs.
Okay.
5 or 6 pubs out east.
Yeah.
We're in the Gilbert Scott, which is a Marcus Waring restaurant.
Ooh.
We're in Blacklock.
Oh, great.
Really nice steak restaurant.
Lovely.
And trying to think where else. The Whistling Stop, which is nice. Top 50 bars in the world, I think.
This is in London, is it?
In London, yeah.
I've not came across that. I need to check that out.
So, yeah, it's going well. We started October with 30 listings. We're now at 100.
Great.
In early November. So it's been going, kind of better than I dared hope for.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the way the product's been received. The feedback on it's been amazing. You never quite know. It was basically my palate and the brewers. And we didn't do any of the we didn't do consumer testing or anything like that. We were like, we think this is really good.
I think sometimes you have to believe, and some of the greater brands I've worked for, they didn't really believe in research too much, and some of the poorer brands I've worked with and for and whatever did an awful lot of research, and I think it just paralyses you, and there's all the great adages about Henry Ford and blah blah blah, but I think it's just like, if you know,
yeah.
And I think part of being an entrepreneur is to being a visionary, and I think if you ask too many people, it can really dull down.
It also slows you down.
Yeah, and the money.
It was, because we actually had the same thing on naming. Someone suggested to me that we should we should go out and survey the name and garner people's reactions to it.
Yeah.
And it was a bit like, well, the clock's ticking.
Yeah, we need to
crack on.
Yeah. No, I agree.
You just need to
bite the bullet.
You need to throw it out there.
I think so, and I think people will come and meet you, and there's horrendous names out there. Is the Arctic Monkeys a good name for a band? No, but they're doing all right. Do you know what I mean? So I think people can get over names. I think it's about speed of execution, what you actually stand for, and what and product wins. So what's the product like? And that's better than anything. So again, with the values you had and stuff or have. Can you talk a bit about that? So the values you have then behind the brand.
So the values we have: never settle. That's our first one. So just
is that a pun on the unfiltered as well?
Well, it's nice. It fits with that, which is really nice.
Yeah, well done.
But it speaks to the fact that we're always developing and always trying to brew better beer.
Relentless.
And, just a relentless focus on process and trying to figure out better ways to make better beer, alcohol-free beer. But then it speaks to that original consumer that I've always had in my mind that says
always striving.
Always striving. And I think that's where the kind of the new consumer is.
Yeah.
Everyone's on a drive to do something now.
Yeah, they're on a mission for sure. Definitely.
So that, and then some of the kind of more general ones. I mean, for the people, because we're an independent brand.
Yeah.
And we're there for everyone. We don't want to alienate people. We want to be making great beer for as many people as we can.
Yeah.
And then doing things differently.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, we're trying to build a business in alcohol-free beer.
Yeah.
So we're trying to say, look, hey, there's a new way to consume beer. Yes, it's a category that's been around for forever, but equally, it's tiny and it's not well known. So let's try and bring it to the forefront.
It's sort of like a unloved, dusty category. And I think that's what's so exciting for you, that you're the Spotify in a world of HMVs or whatever, which I think is quite exciting.
It's true. It's exactly kind of what 2 years ago I was looking at, just thinking, has everyone forgotten about this?
Yeah.
And it turned out, no, they hadn't.
Yeah.
And in the last 2 years, there's been a sort of a flurry of activity. both from mainstream brands and small independent brands as well.
Because also we were working with a sherry brand just there called Zecco.
Right.
And alcoholic, obviously. But again, similar thing, where it was just going, has everyone forgotten about the Grand's cupboard with the stuff and the, sherry's actually really nice.
Who's the founder behind that?
Oh, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. There's 3 ladies that have sort of founded it. I think they were linked to Seagram Diageo family. One of them was anyway. Right. So they've got that alcohol in their blood, as you said. But yeah, so a lot of amazing development, but they've just went to extraordinary lengths to find this, Fino sherry, and then also, bottling it in such a different cosmetics kind of way. It looks so beautiful and grammable and all these words. But yeah, I mean, again, it's just thinking, I don't think that category's dead. It's unloved, and there's an opportunity. Let's go.
It's so exciting. There are so many categories out there where people see it. Whether it's rum or whether it was gin 15 years ago.
Cask is coming back, they're telling me. So, that's going to be another one where it was all just long beards and camera and, train spotting badges or whatever. But, that's getting a boost in the next wee while. Though it's been around, it's not as unloved as alcohol free. But, Cask's on the rise again. So that'll be really exciting.
Yeah.
Just in terms of you starting this business, what's your learnings been, over the last sort of 3 years? What's went really well, what's went badly? What tips would you give for people for resilience and believing and these kind of things?
God, it's a sort of, I'm not sure I'm well placed to give tips, but
oh, you've done it.
But I think it's a sort of resilience thing. There's a lot of for me the product development thing. Just I've worked with so many people. I've spoken to so many people, and that's kind of tiring because you've got this. You really want to get on and get out there and get selling, but you need this phase of product development and working with that. That's the biggest one for me, and then. Yeah, lots of people tell me you need to remember to kind of to stop and celebrate the good moments. But
did you?
No, there's no time.
Yeah,
because there's always getting Honest Burgers to launch in was incredible. But then what do we do next?
What's next?
Yeah.
No, I know what you're saying, and but it is nice if you can, even for a couple of minutes, just. Reflect, maybe year end or something, or the end of your might not be the end, you might continue, but of your sort of non-drinking, just taking to reflect
I know what
back.
I'm gonna do. Like everyone keeps asking me, so what's the plan? And I think everyone keeps asking my wife, being like, is he ever going to start drinking again?
Yeah.
Well. So I don't know what it's definitely there's way more positives to come out of it. It's an experience I've really enjoyed, actually.
Yeah. And I think, in the world that we live in terms of the hospitality industry, I mean, this week, 5 or 6 nights out in a row this week for me.
Yeah.
And 4 the next week, and inevitably some kind of drinking's involved. And then you don't want to say, oh, I'm not drinking tonight, because that person you're out with will be sort of question it or maybe disappointed, or maybe you're out with a brewery, for example, and maybe it is a launch of something, and so again, I think to have these kind of options would just be helpful. And then it's an acceptable alternative to go, I'm just going to keep it low because I've got a big day tomorrow, or you know what I mean. So I'm really welcoming it. I can't wait to see it. And eventually it's going to be on draft. Are you going to do things like that?
There's no reason we can't do it. At the moment, there just isn't the demand.
Yeah.
Because the taps in pubs are they're the highest volume.
Premium.
And it's front of they have to put their highest volume products through that.
Yeah.
And alcohol-free beer is still a small category.
Yeah. But that's maybe a KPI for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's happening in Spain.
Yeah.
So there's no reason it can't happen here, and there's no logistical reason it can't happen. It's just a demand thing.
And calories wise, where are you at on that?
So it's 53 calories, which is about per bottle.
Bottles how much again?
330 ml.
330. Yeah.
So that's roughly a third of the calories of a punk IPA, for example.
What's not to like?
What's not to like? Vegan friendly, 4 natural ingredients, low in calorie, low in sugar.
Brilliant. Yeah.
I know it's funny because we're not really kind of focused on building a health brand.
Yeah.
That's not kind of really part of our messaging.
But it's just it happens to be.
When I write it down, I'm like, well, this is better than soft drinks.
Yeah.
Because it's not full of sugar.
Better than Iron Brew.
That's for sure.
Is that the strap line?
It might be now.
Well, I think that was amazing, just in terms of taking us through Lucky Saint and your journey and what it's all about. And yeah, I mean, just anyone listening, please get in touch with Luke, because I think it's just going to be, it's only going to be on the rise, and you want to be back in the right brand. So yeah, I think it's fantastic. And I can't wait to taste it.
Yeah, well, let's have one now.
Yeah, we should just finish up by having one. So yeah, definitely.
No, thanks a lot for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. So you've got it. So Luke's got his chili bin, which is a very Aussie New Zealand thing to have. So yeah, I've got a New Zealand friend called Jeff, and he's a neighbour like a couple of doors down, and yeah, he turns up to our house with his own chili bin of beers,
really? And
you're saying, but it's British hospitality for me to give you beer. And he's like, no, it's totally fine. So it's quite an interesting, because it means you can drink at your own pace.
Yeah,
you've always got it. No one has to get up or leave, or leave the barbecue or the party or the chat, or so it's actually quite an endearing thing.
Yeah, it's my sales tool. You can't sell warm beer.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's great. Thanks so much for coming in. Thanks for the free sample. It's okay to drink before lunchtime.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
It's my pleasure.
Really enjoyed it.
It's my pleasure. So we'll put all about Lucky Saint on the notes for the show. Gabby will sort that out. But yeah, just thanks again. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks so much to Luke Boase, who is the founder of Lucky Saint Lager Company. Luke is an amazing individual, so driven, so talented, and is just really passionate about his brand, as well as coming across as one of the coolest characters that we've ever had on the podcast. I was lucky enough also, at the end of the podcast, as you may have heard, to sample some of Lucky Saint's beer, but also it was so cold and so beautiful, and to be able to legitimately have a drink before lunchtime felt pretty cool. Thanks so much also to all of you who are listening to the Spectacular Marketing Podcast, who are writing to us every single day, every single week through all of our social channels, and a huge thanks also to everyone who is telling one friend or one colleague about the podcast to really help our listener numbers. Thank you so much. A huge thank you also to Gaz, Gabby and Mihal for all of their hard work in putting the Spectacular Marketing Podcast together. I'm Mark McCulloch, and this was Spectacular.